Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the September meeting of the Lawrence County Planning Commission. The meeting to order. First order of business is review and hopefully approval of minutes from our combined July-August meeting from August 13th. I don't show a copy of those minutes. Any additional modifications? Hearing none, a motion to approve as submitted. Second. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. All right, plan reviews. First up, 862 Rogersville Pike. Evening, Greg.
Got my glasses so I can see. Miss the days, huh?
See us or see your notes?
I missed the days when I didn't need these. Good evening, everybody. Rick Mast. First one is 862 Harleysville Pike, and the Carneys are sitting behind me. So it's a fairly simple plan. You probably recall discussing this. Basically, an existing farmhouse that is opposite Lucan Road. It's the Carney's residence today. And we're simply proposing to subdivide the lot into two lots. The building lot that we're creating is going to be a residence for the Carneys as well. As everybody has to deal with at some point in time, going to be a first floor plan, so everything's on the first floor. And I think they're what they envision as being their final house. I had mentioned the last time that we're proposing to utilize the existing driveway access, although it will be improved and create a shared access for the two lots. So we're not creating an additional access point along 113. Stephanie had a comment about slopes. I discussed that with her today. I think we can resolve that with her. The two letters we have, CKS's letter dated September 19th and Bowman's letter dated September 18th. Basically, I think the substantial planning issue is sidewalk. I think that's where our discussion centered the last time. And what I had said to the planning commission is it's a very difficult site with regard to sidewalk. It's got an 8-foot embankment along 113. Then it's got the existing driveway and the existing farmhouse that's very close to the roadway. And then on the other side of the farmhouse, you have utility poles and you have a stormwater culvert. So at no point is this an easy solution for sidewalk, and those difficulties extend beyond the property as well, not just on this property. Primarily developed to the south of this property with single-family residences. There's no sidewalk between this location and Skippack Township. So we are continuing to ask for a deferral of any sidewalk or roadway improvements. I think some discussion had been had by the planning commission about potentially widening the cartway of the existing roadway in front of the farmhouse and to the south to the property line. And again, we did look at that, and I did present that to the Carneys as a possibility. There's a history with this tract in particular involving Lucan Road and the existing street, and the house has actually been hit more than once. One of the times at least involved a fire in the house. So they're at this point without a traffic light at Lucan Road, opposed to any widening of the existing cartway. And one of the issues that happens is, if you're familiar, there's a lot of truck traffic, people turning left onto Lucan Road from 113. There's always an attempt to go around those vehicles. They're waiting to turn left. So widening in that particular location is just going to increase that activity. If the traffic light was there, which, I know the township at some point in the past was working on, I think that situation would be different. So I realize that the planning commission may have feel differently about that issue, but as the applicant, they would like to continue to request a deferral of those improvements. I don't know that there's anything really to discuss in the review letters other than that, unless Michelle or Stephanie would like to discuss something. I would consider them able to be resolved with the reviewers. I know, Michelle, you had comments regarding the existing easements. They do not have meets and bounds. That's why we didn't show meets and bounds. If you look at the documents, when the easement that runs parallel to 113 was created, it's just graphically shown. So
It couldn't be read on plan safety submitted, even that PennDOT plan couldn't be read. That's why I thought maybe you could contact
there's-
PennDOT and get them.
there's two different easements actually. So the one that's parallel to 113 has no meets and bounds, and I'll provide that with you to you so you can see it. The one at the culvert, which is sort of a rectangular one, is a plan from the 60s, I believe, that we cannot read. We did contact PennDOT. So far, we have not gotten a legible copy. We're trying to get that, but if we can't find it, it doesn't change the easement. I mean, it already exists, so it's nothing that we do would change it. It's an existing easement. So
If PennDOT takes the right way, then it's all good, it's gonna be theirs, it doesn't matter to me, if they don't, then, we might have to talk some more about it.
yeah, I don't anticipate, just so you know my position, I don't think PennDOT's going to take any of this right away. They typically don't when it doesn't involve a larger HOP. So I don't expect them to want any additional right away, but the easement exists today.
So let's ask them.
But that's
Yes, and no.
something we can work out, I think. I don't think that's an issue that is a project stop already.
So let's take these one at a time. if we can. So on the sidewalk, I think at the group discussion when we talked about sidewalks, I think there was general agreement that if we ever introduce sidewalks to 113, we would probably do it on the west side, be consistent with the golf course, where there's always some trails, and then making its way up into the hopefully someday walkable bedrock. So I think we sort of walked away from the thoughts of there being sidewalks on this side of 113. That being the case, I'm very supportive of the policy that says always get the grading done, but not thinking there's ever going to be sidewalks. I don't know if we need to try to make them squeeze grade and get rid of the sidewalks.
Yeah, grading would be working. Right?
Yeah, I think grading is going to create some definite challenge. Street trees. I don't think we ever 40 street trees.
Can you pause on that, since you're talking about the sidewalks? And I'm talking, I just about this, I'm about to say ties with one side, the road widened. I thought the last meeting, in lieu of that,
That's why I said, let's take.
Okay,
it one at a time.
okay,
So,
keep going. Okay, go to back to trees then.
Yeah. So the next thing on the review letter is the street trees. I know you requested it, but I think the only time we ever waive it is when there's already an abundance of existing trees that create the buffering and road delineation, similar to your Hoffman Road situation, where there we looked at and said, well, there's.
We're not asking for relief from street trees.
It's
the only-
The note here says. I don't understand the note then, so I thought that it says it's 16 are required, but they're saying they don't want to use the 6 that are there.
Yeah,
But
they wanna use 6 existing trees to help satisfy the requirement, yes,
Okay, great.
yeah, in
So
fact,
we
they're
have 16.
showed up there.
Okay, so now we're down to the road line. So, Scott,
No, well, I believe, and Rick alluded to it, the last conversation we had was we wanted to keep a consistent shoulder of the road widening. To match existing road widening that's already there. We indicated that that is a bike,
there's a good bike trail.
designated bike trail for some reason. And then I would even just add to that, unofficially, you're almost creating in that left turn lane, if you already have cars turning left on the Lucon, trucks turning left on the Lucon, people are trying to squeeze past it. I think that causes more problems than if we had a wider shoulder, then people could more easily squeeze past it. And it makes, to me, an almost better intersection. Allowing people to, or you squeeze past it. But a wider shoulder.
The issue is you can't create enough widening for something that would meet the width of a lane.
Well, that's
So
what's
it's
an
inadequate.
artificial lead, especially left turn. But I just think what goes on at Cheswick and lap time there, are people squeeze past unofficially.
That's kind of that, where yes, you should have more space, but if you don't have more rain, you might.
It forces
more
people.
space to make encourage more.
So Cheswick, it's funny you mentioned that, because that has what PennDOT used to call a runaround lane at the entrance of Cheswick. If you go by there, you'll see the shoulder on the, yeah, it's widened at the entrance, and that was actually PennDOT that created that at the time, but that's much wider than we could provide here, so it is a little bit different. PennDOT, I would, and Stephanie could agree or disagree with this, if, whatever she thinks, but PennDOT definitely would not condone that sort of a lane today. They want to either, it's got to be a travel lane or a turning lane that meets their criteria, or you can't do it. So I don't think you could do that today, even though it was PennDOT that actually proposed it and built it, I think, when it was done. It was not there initially when Cheswick was built, though. That was something they added.
Stephanie?
I just wanted to speak to the road widening discussion as well as the shoulder widening discussion. So the plans were submitted, Rick, with an area that shows an improved shoulder that would take it out to essentially match the existing shoulder that's on the other side of the driveway. So I don't know if you could speak to that improvement, because that improvement was essentially what was discussed, I believe, at the last meeting, to provide a wider shoulder, which could be used as a bike lane, a share the road bike lane condition. I think maybe, Mike, if you go to the next page, see the gray area that's highlighted, the shaded gray area. So that would be, I understood that from this plan, Rick, to be a widened shoulder. Where the bituminous curb would be removed and you would be expanding the width of that shoulder to a certain width, but I can't tell you what that width is because we need a little more detail on the plan. So can you clarify if that's what we're interpreting that to be?
Yes, that is what we discussed with the planning commission, but after discussing it with the applicants, they feel that that is a definite negative in terms of the safety here, the issues they've had with the previous accidents. So that is not something that they wish to do. And that's why we're continuing to request the deferral.
So the deferral is not for the standard road widening for a principal arterial, and that this shoulder improvement would have been proposed. You're now indicating that this gray shoulder improvement is not being proposed?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. That was not clear from the plan submission. So I was under the understanding that that shoulder widening was being proposed, which hence I think the first comment asked for more information and more details relative to that in our review.
So, I mean, I think, from my perspective, follow up on Scott's comment, the conversation we had was trying to get a standard shoulder width as much as we can. I think it's very confusing when shoulders ebb and flow in and out. Secondly, we talked about creating some sort of a bike lane, because for reasons I don't fully understand, 113 is a designated bike trail. I understand the applicant's viewpoint. I think our job as a planning commission is to drive good planning practices. So my recommendation would be, I think we've satisfied enough of the planning issues to move it on. So I would be supportive of approving it, but with the comment to the supervisors that we think the shoulder should be widened. And if they choose to waive that, that's their call, but from a planning standpoint, I don't think we should.
Yeah, we understand that too, that needs to also be a discussion with the board.
Just looking at the visual there, what you made too is also very legit, where like right in the front of the house goes from a 2 foot, I'm estimating a 2 foot shoulder to a 5 foot shoulder, that inconsistent.
Yeah, you start thinking how that goes with
Right.
for bikers, that's gotta be.
It does not go back and forth though, Scott.
Just that one time.
Well, in other words, if you're south, if you're heading north, it's a consistent width and then it widens past the farmhouse, but it doesn't go back and forth.
Right, it goes back.
So really, the only benefit you could add would be that shaded area on the plan, you know, which is not a tremendous benefit, in my opinion.
And I get it, I mean, you know, I'm getting you the picture, I mean, the house is regarding there, so I get it. But, you know, I think that also prompts a good conversation at supervisor level, will there be a light someday? And do they have line of sight to that, and the answer is no, then what we can do. Move off.
I just looked, the traffic count on the road, is 1,600 vehicles per day. They never enjoy the traffic.
What year was that?
Unless they've been enough accidents, then we'll have some.
Oh, yeah.
What year was that? I'm just curious.
I mean, it's the imagery is 2025, but I don't know what traffic is.
Okay,
That's from.
I think 768 of them are H&K trucks coming out of Blue Con Road.
Any other thoughts, comments? Folks, fine, moving along with my. Yep. Okay. So then a motion to approve. All in favor?
All right, thank you very much.
All the same. All right, great.
Good evening, everybody.
No intermission.
The next one is Clemens Mill. Seems to be everyone's favorite project.
You, I love that was good and something.
I think Manus, you weren't actually here when we discussed this the last time. The main issue was we had not spoken to the two owners on Pioneer Circle with regard to a path extension. And we were reluctant to do that until we knew we had a plan that appeared that was gonna move on. And the direction we got from the planning commission is, yes, this plan is in a configuration that would be acceptable. But we wanted a conversation with those two owners. So in between the last visit to the planning commission and tonight, the applicant has met with both owners. They are amenable to the path. And just to remind the planning commission of the situation, when Pioneer Circle was created, I think in the early 80s, there is an existing 20-foot wide easement that's centered on a property line between two of the homes there. And the easement on the record plan that's recorded is labeled pedestrian and sanitary sewer easement. That's the only documentation that exists for that easement. There's no separate easement agreement or anything like that. It's just two lines on a plan and a label. The meetings with those two owners went very well. They're amenable to the path. They have, and I should say, their previous owners of those properties have built fences within the easement area. In fact, it's completely blocked. They're agreeable to have those fences removed. They want the applicant to rebuild them, which he's willing to do. Yeah, that's the area through there. And then I subsequently had a conversation with Andy Freemuth, a solicitor, and Mike was a part of that conversation. You know, exactly how do we memorialize these improvements? Because there really isn't a document that exists today. So Andy indicates that he will prepare a document that will memorialize that the easement was created, that they agree that it's created and exists, that the path can be constructed according to the plan, which would be adequate documentation. Obviously, that document has to be created, has to be signed by all the parties. But that would move that portion of the plan forward. The path, which I neglected to mention at the beginning, is an off-site path. So we have a proposed sidewalk and path inside of our development. It goes to the property line, which is a township open space property line. And then we're proposing a significant portion of the path through the township open space and then out to the sidewalk on Pioneer Circle, which would allow those residents, the residents that come from Park Avenue, to get through a network, really to get to Harleysville by the time it's all said and done. That's the path that we're proposing. What's dashed there is through our property. What's to the right, where it's solid lines, that's what's on the township's property. The other significant factor is the path is in exchange for a waiver of tree replacement requirements within the development itself. And I'll provide these to Michelle, but one of the things that I think township was looking for was, where is the value between the two? So I did a construction cost estimate for both the path and an estimate for the proposed street replacement trees that we're asking relief from. Path is clearly the more expensive of the two. It's kind of a no-brainer, but I've got it in black and white. Michelle, your question or one of your comments was, well, the survey for the trees is pretty old. Are they the same size? I think it's a moot point. I did a mathematical calculation. Let's assume every single tree on the site was 25% bigger, which they're not 25% bigger, but let's make that assumption. And that does increase the number of replacement trees. It would increase it from 70, or the relief we're looking for is 70, it would increase that relief to 94 trees. Path is still more expensive, even if you calculate it that way. So there's no question in my mind that what is being proposed as the alternate to the street tree or the tree replacement is a bigger benefit than the relief that we're requesting.
When we talk about 7 trees being placed.
We're asking for relief from
those,
providing 70 trees.
and the relief is you couldn't take down trees.
Correct. So
And they are quality trees, or whatever you call it. Is that can be any kind of tree?
the ordinance does make exceptions for certain trees that are invasive. We're not making those exceptions. I mean, it's actually every tree on the property that's, we're counting everything. So the result of the calculation is 94 trees that are required to be replaced. We're replacing 24. Difference is 70. That's the relief.
Yeah.
And it's really a matter of, there's nowhere to put 70 trees on this site. And then the 25% increase, it bumps the 70 up to 93. If every tree was 25% bigger, it would be 93.
The comments is, I can't see what's back there. I can kind of look down the creek bed or whatever from 113. I can kind of scoot down there. To me, they look like all junk trees, but I consider like wild junk trees, nothing nice. I just wouldn't, I hate to lose like a 200-year-old specimen oak tree that might be hidden back there somewhere. And I don't know if you know, like, is there some.
So the ordinance does treat trees that are 24 inches and greater in caliper differently. And we don't have any of those trees on our property.
Right, so when you talk about value to the township, between the path, be great, and then the trees, but that's the cost of replacement. Probably the trees that are in place, it's environmental. Taking trees off the property and having, small parts that we've done, it's a huge environmental impact. So, I just know it probably is great, I don't know how you would judge the financial impact of that potential.
Well, I don't know that it can be calculated.
more valuable than the other. But that's not, there's more to it, I don't, that's a great idea, and you have to give, great value to residents in that area to have that access.
So,
To
you know, one thing
say-
I think, Julie, you could consider in that, is this is only the replacement trees we're talking about. So in total, we're planting those trees on the property. They're not counted towards replacement trees because they're required for other purposes, you know, street trees, buffer trees, detention basin trees. It's not, this is a calculation. It's really not a tree for tree calculation. We probably are putting the same number of trees or more than we're taking down. Obviously, the caliber is going to be different when you plant them, but eventually there'll be more trees there after the development matures than there are today. We're also proposing trees offsite, and we're counting these trees along the path. So where the path continues through the township property, we're proposing trees along the path. So the path will be a tree lined path as well. Yeah, township has to weigh that benefit, I guess. I mean, we could take the path offsite, off the plan, provide a fee in lieu of, or plant the trees elsewhere. It would be a cheaper alternative actually in the end, and maybe an easier alternative from a construction standpoint. But that's, you know, not the direction we kind of were heading, so.
What is the total length of the offsite path? Do you know?
Total what?
Length of the offsite path, and it's an 8-foot wide path?
It's 8 foot wide. It's 5,000 square feet. So 5,000 divided by 8, 400 feet. I did my math right.
That's the whole, one.
That's what?
That's the entire.
Offsite.
Just the offsite portion. I'm not counting anything that's on site towards that calculation.
You are obtaining or will obtain all of the permits to install that path,
Correct.
which is I'm not making a determination either as to whether one's more valuable or another, but that is a big deal also. The permanent part of installing the path next to the waterway.
Is it built?
Culvert,
The culvert exists today, so we're intending to use that.
which the new public works director did not know that he was on the hook to replace that for a previous public works director until Tuesday.
Unless he wants to leave it there too, which I think
Right.
is an option. My math wasn't right, 625 feet long, so I knew it wasn't right. I'm not good at math. Just kidding.
Asphalt.
Yes. The path will, the construction materials will meet the ordinance. There's a detail that the township has that we're gonna follow that.
So I'm not trying to dismiss the loss of trees, but the opportunity to get that path.
Yep.
Have a trail connection with those stores and planting.
I'm totally supportive of it.
Anything else on the?
The only thing I think worth talking about is the architectural requirements. They are, and the ordinance is not that detailed. So there's a lot of specific comments in the letter that aren't in the ordinance. The ordinance is just a very broad statement. If you're preserving existing buildings, the new buildings should be in similar character to the buildings that are preserved. I don't really know what that means. It doesn't give real specific criteria. It's a little different than like the MU districts or RO district standards where there's some specific roof pitches and materials. This doesn't have that. We're in a little bit of a catch-22 because there is not actually even a builder identified. So I don't know how we can handle that. I mean, we understand the concept and the timing as to when, you know, there would be finalized architectural plans. I don't know how we can work that in. It's unusual actually to have to present them for this type of a development because it's a little bit different than, I'll make the comment, the comparison to 196 Main Street, you know, different type of project where there was some specific architectural requirements, but there was also specific buildings at the time. Not quite there, so.
So when I read the comments in the letter, kind of struck me as like a historical district review, like when we started talking about the glazing on the front door and the platform. I don't know that the ordinance ever anticipated that level of detail. I do agree with the comment about I think brick is the general.
I agree with that one too. All the buildings in that area are brick, so that does make sense. And if you're talking about being in character with what's there, it's definitely brick.
And we were just pointing out what we saw along the street view. If the planning commission and the board don't want that kind of detail, then they don't. This is only up for preliminary plan approval,
Correct.
or do you believe that you might have architectural renderings before you obtain final plan approval?
I think there's a very distinct possibility that we can do that. So we've got some other stuff to do anyway, so I would be okay with that. You know, we can kick that can down the road a little bit and,
And you have a lot of waivers to
We do,
obtain.
we do.
and There's a lot of comments about the waivers for the road construction. So I don't know if the planning commission wants to weigh in on those with Stephanie here. Regarding the road construction.
Sure. Yeah, because there'll be a pinch issue.
slope, you know, I think. Yeah, so I hope we're past that at this point, but just to review the whole thing, so. Town Pike is a super elevated road. It's steeply graded away from our property. So PennDOT limits the break angle from that slope that's on the existing highway to our highway. So we're kind of restricted. The roads, our proposed driveway or roadway is relatively flat at the street. And then we start going down as steeply as we can, and then it comes out of it. The steepest grade is 8%, and it's for a very short distance. I think it's like 11 feet or something like that. So it's 2% at the roadway. The steepest grade is 8%, and then it flattens out. 196 Main Street, I think, is a good comparison because it's actually being constructed today. So you can actually go out there and look at it. That's almost the same grade, except that grade extends longer. If you from Quarry Road, go up into that site, turn left, that grade is 7.2%. So it's nearly 8%, but it extends much longer than 11 feet. So if you want a real world comparison, that would be the comparison. We discussed before that 8% still would meet like an ADA accessible ramp grade. It's actually not what I would consider steep.
You say you have the ramp, let's say you're coming out of your development and you go up to the 8% grade and then you come to the flat. How long would that flat be? Would that be 20 feet, 30 feet?
It's at least 20 feet, so at least a car length. So it's actually 4% for 4% or less, I think, for at least 50 feet. So you've got more than 2 car lengths where it's really going to perceive it as being flat. It's really after that in the curve where it's a steeper grade.
Is it 40 or 50 feet, Rick? I don't know if we can bring up the
I'd
plan,
have
but
to look at the profile.
yeah, I mean, I know we've documented it as being 2% for approximately 21 feet before transitioning to the 8% through a vertical curve.
Yeah, I said, Stephanie, about 50 feet, 4% or less. So
Okay.
from the 2% grade, 20 feet plus or minus, starts transitioning out of that. I think it's 4% or less for about 50 feet.
I'm fine with all that. I know we talked about what favor. It's a private drive, it's 14 units. Nobody's going through there, it's ever good service. The dimensions Rick is providing 20 feet, 40 feet at 4%. And anything. And if the Rick's the exciting existing conditions similar to that on Main Street. No problem there.
Stephanie, anything else on waiver requests or issues that you had?
No, I think that was our primary one, which again, I just reiterate. The slope that exceeds plus the horizontal curvature together, we don't like to see both the tight horizontal curvature and the maximum slope, right? So that's really the combination is what has probably my biggest concern, whether it's somebody coming in and going down and around the curve or coming out and going around the curve and up the hill. So yeah, we've probably beat this discussion for quite a long time now. It's not one that I would prefer to see in this case. It is a waiver. I don't think it's the best condition out there, but at the same time, I understand there's not a lot else that can be, there's not a lot else that can be done on that. It's still, yes, it's a private road, but it does still, it still means it needs to meet street requirements. So
I'll add one more.
I don't have a good solution for it.
One more
Unfortunately.
entire equation is that this connects to the adjacent property. There's a parking lot there. It's John Garris Homes. And it's also a residential apartment. I can't remember if it's one or two. This will give them an alternative exit. Which I think is important in this case because that driveway, I believe, is inadequate in terms of site distance. So certainly, at least in that regard, it's better than exists today, and that's another benefit to the driveway.
And I know, Rick, another example has been up at, right, the Covenant Church. But that one has a much longer straight section of road, right, before as you come down the hill, before you have to make a decision, make a turn. It's
Not the internal, Stephanie, you're right about Covenant Lane, but at the internal roadway is like a horseshoe where all the driveway accesses are. That's actually like a 90-degree turn inside there. So in some ways sharper.
So are we looking for preliminary approvals that we can fill through?
Yeah.
I'm generally okay with that. I think when we get into the next phase before final, I think we want to go through the waivers. in more detail. Would like to see the architectural renderings. And I think there are a couple of comments in here. Now that you've got preliminary, you're doing the final, stormwater management. I think there are a couple of spots in here where we talked about, making sure we've got the grading right for the runoff. That we want to.
Yeah, and those I can comply with. And my experience in Lower Salford, when it's a two-step process, the board does not grant any waivers associated with preliminary approval. They hold that till final.
But may I add one thing? I have concern about the retaining wall you're adding along the street. Could you, for the final plan submission, talk to your structural engineer who's ever gonna be designing that and making sure that those street trees in that section will be able to be planted?
Yeah, it's very similar to the wall along Wawa, just
Okay,
as an example.
okay.
It has almost identical situation.
That's back and I didn't want the roots.
Right.
Again, so just so that your structural engineer will give a statement if he's not
Okay.
making calculations yet.
We can do that.
Manis, can I ask one more question? I know, Rick, the HOP was previously issued. It's been expired. You're gonna have to go back into PennDOT for their review of the with the latest standards for them. So I would also ask, I guess, for the next time that an HOP submission is made as well. So we understand.
Understandable. And we
There
agree
are
with
some
that.
guide rail,
Yeah.
guide rail items relative to that.
I did have just so you know, Stephanie, I did speak with PennDOT reviewers about the guide rail specifically, got some input from them as to what they would like to see. We just have to resolve it between what PennDOT wants and what the township wants, but I think there's a resolution.
Okay, I would ask you just to take a look at the front page of EPS on their new Clear Path program. You're gonna fall into that category with this access.
I love new requirements.
Motion for preliminary. Motion. All in favor? You opposed?
Thank you very much.
It was a good night.
I have meetings every night. None are good things this week, so.
Good on those.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Proposed pay ozone test amendments, is it on this?
Sure, it's just a real quick update, so the proposed ordinance largely has not been changed. We changed it, I think, a little bit with terminology, but that's it, and it's been advertised in the newspaper a few times, and it's set for we discussed both at the next work session of the board of supervisors, which is the last day of September. And then the hearing will be the first day of October, it's October 1st. And, that's the plan, so, but it's just back in front of the planning commission today, if you guys had any additional thoughts, but. It's up to you.
Should say. Yeah, we can talk about it at this point. Advertise, public comment, supervisors, let's, give the applicant and the public a chance to discuss it, but,
I'm sorry, may I ask you to repeat that? I didn't quite hear what you're saying about. the
I said that
public
we
comment.
worked the language as a body here to the point that we thought it was making no sense, or at least it had defined the legislative intent of what the district would do. So at this point, we want to give the public a chance to read it, it's been advertised. Then a chance to then come in and question it, and supervise with a chance to apply on. So I'm gonna say, I don't think the planning commission has an active role at this point, we've done our.
So you're gonna listen to the comments and what's the next part? I'm sorry, I'm Lori,
Yeah,
okay,
sure.
it's MUX.
Yeah, so it's
How
been
does this-
advertised, so everybody can take a look at the language that's out there. And how it's being drafted up, so it's now available to the public, and then the supervisors will have a hearing where the public can provide comment, and then they'll weigh in on it, provide their own spin.
Okay, may I comment and question now, or did you have more for the
If
minute?
there's a question about what process did we follow, or what's in there, I'm happy to do that, is if the question about what the supervisor's gonna say, I stopped trying to anticipate that.
Okay, no, thank you. I was here, August 13th. When this topic came up, Betty and I were sitting in the audience, we were a little surprised. If you recall, I asked a few questions. Specifically, I said, the traffic pattern will be so different from previously office with rush hour traffic and now a dormant building. And it's a critical area. I really appreciated, I appreciate the planning commission. And I appreciate the comments that were made by the committee, which really opened up my eyes and my ears. And one is, we know, those of us that are familiar with the area, we know it's 90% residential around there. And to me, it's four of the biggest streets, or at least three, 113 and Oak and Maple. Right now, we have a traffic jam along Oak Drive. Oak and Moyer runs to elementary school. I have been going to Hennings at 8 a.m. During school hour, and there's an absolute gridlock. Oak and Moyer, Oak and Main, where cars have slid into the intersection and traffic can't move. It's a busy, busy area. And you guys know, you see more and more of this kind of impatience because the roads are getting busier. I have several comments. And when I started to comment last time, I believe I clearly heard this will come up at the October meeting. What I didn't realize, I guess, was this discussed at the Board of Supervisors meeting September 3rd, and that's the vote on the advertisement, and that's my understanding. Somebody that watched videos at YouTube called me today and says, I think they're coming up. When we looked at the agenda, I guess in terms of process, this was discussed August 13th. Meeting minutes aren't published until the next meeting, the day after the next meeting. So I tried to tell people about it, but I don't know zoning and the language. I was looking forward, and I told people, I was told to come back in October, the October planning meeting. This is September. I was looking for the language so that the concerned people on our neighborhood team could read that and fully understand what is happening. So I understand the process, but again, I was told or expected October, this would come to an issue. I thought the Planning Commission made recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. And then the process proceeded.
So let me clarify, so what has transpired is we made recommendations on what we think the language ought to be. We've given that to staff, they reviewed it, They've given that to the supervisors who said it's close enough that we want the public to now have an opportunity to weigh in on this. So they've advertised it so that not just you, but everybody else in the public can look at that language, understand it, and come prepared for questions. And then what Mike said is that October 1st,
Yes.
next Wednesday,
Yeah.
next Wednesday, will be that October meeting that we talked about, where you'll have a chance to come in and ask questions by time. So I think we're being very consistent with what we laid out, and the meetings that transpired was to make sure we got it out to the public so we can see what that line was said.
Okay, my understanding, I thought it was going to be the October Planning Commission, because I didn't hear a motion. Okay, because you had suggested, and I did, I got a copy of the proposed requirement, I believe, within the next week of that meeting, looking it over. So I did not understand the process. I did not expect it to come up that soon. In terms of, I guess, still the process, I mentioned one of the great comments that the committee made last time was regarding subdividing the property. And it was words to the effect of what's to prevent that group from subdividing that property, particularly that stretch of Route 113, which would be of really high commercial value. And I thought I heard the comment, and is Rick Mann still here? I thought the comment was, Rick, isn't that what happened with the Wawa property? Again, I haven't listened to the video lately of the meeting, but it's like, wait a minute, do we have some history of making an agreement and later changing it and subdividing? I don't know that I heard, and I don't remember the answer or response to that. And I think most of us that live in the area would be more concerned, even more, if that became a commercial strip. Again, Karen Share, I love Karen Share, and I said that in the meeting, clearly, I love their mission, because I know some people that had volunteered. One of the really neat things is they don't waste anything. And they said, if there's a t-shirt that wouldn't sell in Solderton, they pack it up and they send it to another country, another area where that t-shirt would be worn and not used as a rag. I said, well, how do you do that? There's 40-foot tractor trailers. If you go donate, they're lined up. There's areas it's all segregated by type. I don't know. I think it's irresponsible to make a decision to move forward without having a little more data, a traffic study. What's the volume? How's the impact in and out of Route 113?
Sorry, cut you off. I really encourage you to go read it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the points that you have concern about, I understand, but if you read the language, you're gonna see a couple of things. One, this allows them to get a tenant into the existing building. They can't develop anything else on that parcel until they come in with a master plan and walk that through. So the cascading scenario that you have in place, we put provisions in there to make sure that there's a review and dialogue before any of that can transpire. We also went to great lengths to talk about what the setbacks would be on 113. So your questions are fair, but please go read the language that we worked hard to develop, because I think we put a bunch of protections in there to make sure none of that can happen until there's a review process of that. So the way we structured it is really to allow them to move forward with parent share and then force them to come back and engage in us in a dialogue before they do anything. So your points are valid. We wrote it to try to mitigate your concerns.
I've read it. I don't have the background to clearly understand. I do recall hearing. Yes, but I also.
We wanted them to approach this as well.
I did clearly hear them say you need a master plan to make changes. I guess the one general question is, I love Care and Share. I'd love to see them grow and prosper. I love Lower Salford. I've lived here for 39 years. And I'm happy with if somebody meets all the requirements, let them go. I mean, there's no holding back, but this is one owner. And what I heard in that video is some talk about the trail. Well, the trail estimate is now 450,000 instead of 200,000. I'm not sure how what that has to do with the nationwide building and the AO changed, but I was confused that already I hear the proposal, the owner be concerned with cost of a trail. That to me just didn't feel right. I'd like to hear perhaps from the developer, I hear clearly benefit to care and share. I feel bad that there was a business decision that has let the building be vacant for 3 years. What is the benefit for the community to let one owner come in and request a zoning change for their commercial benefit? I mean, I would love to see, for example, a community rec center. Something that everybody can use. I understand, and maybe you folks can say, what's the benefit to the township? It's unused property, will that mean more taxes, more money? Will it lower our taxes? But I didn't understand what the benefit to the community will be when Care and Share comes in. You've got business hours 8 to 5. You've got 40-foot tractor trailers moving in and out. You've got traffic in and out on 3 very, very busy streets now where we have safety concerns. One of those streets goes to the elementary school. And on a rainy day, you've got carloads of parents lined up. Moyer Oak.
So.
I will read this.
And if your position is that you're not in favor of Care and Share coming into the existing building, I would raise that with the supervisor so that they have a sense that that's not a use that you want permitted. So bring that up. Or if the issue is you're okay with Care and Share, you support their mission, and you support them being at that location, but you have concerns about the further development of the parcel, then ask some questions about that process. I think you tried to reflect both of that, so I'm gonna move on.
One more, if I may, please, is, would you entertain my question to the developer? What's the benefit to the community?
That's the public meeting that the supervisor are gonna have, so this would just be you and him. I'd rather it was the community and him answering questions for everybody, so, that's what the public meeting is for, so I encourage you with that.
Thank you again. I think you guys are doing, I'm just amazed at the volume of proposals. And no, I mean, I've seen them walk out with their both arms full of it, and you almost have to be a lawyer to go through that. And I like it. You have to be an engineer, you have to be a planner, you have to be a lawyer, and you're all volunteers, and we all want the same thing. I don't like this current process with what we've talked about, so. Thank you.
Did you guys have any questions about the process or understand where we're at in this timeline?
We're good.
Yeah, Bernadette Kearney from Hamburg Rubin here on behalf of Krista Pianzia. No, we recognize what the process is, that it needed to come back before the planning commission under the municipality's planning code. It has now been advertised for October 1st, and then it would be, the public hearing would be on that October 1st date. Where
And just to be clear, that public meeting is not facilitated by the planning commission, by the supervisor.
in front of the supervisor, and it's a hearing, court reporter, and you can come make your comments and ask questions.
Where was that advertised?
I don't know what you guys use.
In the reporter,
The reporter.
Yeah, it's all the best of it.
it should be on the website.
And I'll be out of the country, so. All right, that's it. Claire, anything from the county?
Nothing really pressing for the planning commission, but I did just want to give a brief update, and David, you might know about this already from the Indian Valley meeting that was yesterday. So Montgomery County is working on the Montgomery County's new comprehensive plan. So currently we're working on Monco 2040, but we're now in the process of writing Monco 2050. And part of that process was to get input from the municipalities on what their priority transportation projects are for the coming years. And we had a lot of submissions from Lower Salford, so just wanted to let you know that we are listening to you all, township, and integrating that into our transportation chapter.
On that note, I think I recommended Eric, he wants to do presentations to the planning commission, so I recommended the October meeting, just beyond that, it's gonna be in December. It's gonna be a combined meeting, so there may be, I'm waiting to hear from him, but I assume we'll have something like, over. Or general, with Eric being here.
Any other possibilities? Motion to. Yes, Laura?
On a different topic, at the last meeting, I did also praise the new proposed stormwater regulations. Stating if there's a lot of great provisions suggested by the committee, safety fences around the area and so forth. Just wanted to get an update on where that stands. Will that come back in October for discussion?
It's supposed to, yes,
Okay.
that's anticipated.
And is there a timeline? What would be the next step after the planning commission reviews?
So it'll probably go through at least a couple of planning commission meetings, because I'm sure there'll be a lot to talk about and
But it may not, if I could interject, it may not, depends upon the comments from the planning commission. And after that, it'll go to the board of supervisors, they will review it for the first time, see if there's any suggestions, it might go before the board a couple of times. But I'm hoping maybe we could get through the planning commission with one meeting.
What impressed me is the local engineer, Rick, said he was in favor of it too. And he's at Volco, he's PE, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Joe. I heard a second. All in favor? I'm a safe hunter. Yeah.